What if history didn't disappear? It just slipped beneath the surface. Beneath the harbors of Egypt, palaces once walked by Cleopatra now sleep beside Heracleion, the so-called Atlantis of the Nile. In India, the sacred city of Dwarka rises from the sea like a memory trying to surface. Roman villas still shine with untouched mosaics deep beneath Italian shores, while a mastodon-marked stone path lies hidden under Lake Michigan. From Turkey's underwater fortresses to a volcanic city floating in the Pacific, these aren't scattered ruins. They're a network of drowned empires. This is 7 sunken civilizations the sea couldn't erase. Hit like and subscribe so you don't miss what's rising from below. And tell us, which one do you think the ocean's hiding the best? For centuries, it was just a myth. But under the waves of Alexandria, stone by stone, the legend came back to life. Just beneath the waves of Egypt's modern-day Alexandria lies a city frozen in time, an entire royal district submerged by history, shrouded in sediment, and forgotten by civilization for over 1,600 years. Among its ruins, the palace of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, a queen immortalized not just by her reign, but by her tragic romance, political cunning, and larger-than-life legacy. For centuries, the idea of Cleopatra's palace was relegated to legend. Ancient sources wrote of its grandeur, a structure built to rival the gods, overlooking the sparkling waters of the Mediterranean. Yet with time and tectonic violence, the palace seemingly vanished without a trace, leaving behind only rumors, crumbling scrolls, and speculation. But in the late 20th century, all of that began to change. Do you believe Cleopatra's actual tomb could still be hiding underwater, waiting to be found? Some experts think it's somewhere near the ruins. Drop your theory in the comments. From the 4th to the 8th century AD, the Nile Delta region was struck by a series of devastating earthquakes accompanied by powerful tsunamis. These natural disasters caused entire sections of ancient Alexandria to collapse, including the famed royal quarter that once housed Cleopatra's palace. The landscape shifted, harbors were displaced, and the coastline was redrawn. For over a millennium, the palace's exact location remained one of archaeology's greatest unsolved mysteries. Modern-day Alexandria was built atop layers of ancient ruins, hiding all traces of the past. Even underwater, the murky harbor made exploration nearly impossible. It wasn't until marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio arrived, armed with modern technology and a bold hypothesis, that the gateway to the past finally began to open. In the late 1990s, marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team from the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology launched an ambitious survey in the eastern harbor of Alexandria. Using advanced equipment such as sonar scanners, sub-bottom profilers, and magnetometers, they began mapping the seafloor in detail, an area historically believed to be the heart of the Ptolemaic royal district. What they uncovered astonished the archaeological world. A vast array of monumental structures scattered across the seabed, including stone columns, sphinxes, granite blocks, ceremonial platforms, temple foundations, and colossal statues. But the most crucial aspect was not the individual artifacts themselves, but how they interconnected. Together, they formed unmistakable traces of a royal complex that once stood there, matching almost perfectly with ancient descriptions of Cleopatra's palace and surrounding temples. This is where the story becomes extraordinary. Among the hundreds of artifacts retrieved from beneath the waves were large black granite sphinxes, broken obelisks, and colossi depicting Egyptian deities and Greek rulers alike. Some bore unmistakable Ptolemaic features, blending classical Greek aesthetics with traditional pharaonic iconography, just as Cleopatra's lineage had. One statue in particular stood out, a massive granite torso believed to represent Cleopatra herself or a Ptolemaic queen, styled as the goddess Isis. Her body posed in a divine gesture, her headdress worn in royal fashion. This sculpture echoed ancient texts describing Cleopatra's devotion to Isis and her strategic self-representation as a living deity. Even more compelling were the remains of the Temple of Isis itself. Foundations and fragments of this once sacred site were discovered offshore, precisely where ancient writers had claimed it once stood, adjacent to Cleopatra's palace. The temple's orientation, layout, and ceremonial platforms suggested rituals held in reverence to the goddess. Cleopatra had long aligned herself with Isis to legitimize her divine rule. The physical remnants of this structure were not just spiritual ruins, they were political symbols. Other findings included ceremonial docks and massive piers likely used for royal barges, possibly even the one Cleopatra used when she staged her famous entrance to seduce Julius Caesar. These weren't random stones on the seabed. These were the literal stage props of history. Goddio's team also uncovered coins and pottery inscribed with the faces and names of Cleopatra and her father Ptolemy XII, anchoring the site's time frame with remarkable precision. Everything began to converge. All the architectural clues, religious associations, and dating evidence pointed to a clear conclusion. This submerged district was once the royal quarter of ancient Alexandria, and within it stood the palace of Cleopatra. Cleopatra's palace wasn't just a building, it was a political statement. Built in the Greco-Egyptian style, it symbolized the queen's ability to unify cultures. As the last ruler of the Ptolemaic dynasty, Cleopatra walked a fine line between Egyptian tradition and Hellenistic modernity. Her palace reflected that balancing act, with grand columns reminiscent of Greek temples and inner sanctuaries built to honor Egyptian gods. To find its remains underwater is to rediscover not only a structure, but a worldview. Every stone and statue echoes the image Cleopatra curated of herself, a powerful, divine woman commanding respect from Rome, reverence from Egypt, and fear from her enemies. These underwater relics don't just confirm the palace's existence, they validate ancient historical accounts, long dismissed as exaggerated or mythical. Amid the ruins lying beneath the waters of Alexandria, there is a haunting beauty, as if the sea itself still holds the breath of Cleopatra's final tragedy. Historians believe that within these very palace walls, the queen quietly plotted her resistance against Octavian, desperately forged her last political alliances, and ultimately made her fateful choice: to die rather than surrender. According to legend, after the death of Mark Antony, Cleopatra retreated to a secret chamber, possibly one of the royal halls now submerged, and ended her life on her own terms. The sea now preserves that final chapter. Though her tomb has never been found, many experts believe it lies somewhere near these ruins, perhaps buried beneath layers of sediment or hidden within a sunken temple nearby. If ever uncovered, it would rank among the greatest archaeological discoveries in human history. Today, Cleopatra's lost palace still lies beneath the waters of Alexandria's harbor, but it is no longer beyond reach. Quiet yet determined efforts to preserve the site are underway, including surveys, structural reinforcement, and ongoing artifact analysis. Researchers and local authorities have proposed a bold idea: to transform this entire sunken royal city into Egypt's first underwater archaeological museum, a place where visitors could dive and directly explore the palace ruins, ancient monuments, and sacred temples resting silently beneath millennia of sediment. If realized, it would be more than just a tourism project. It would become a singular cultural symbol, the final stage for a legendary queen who understood, better than anyone, the power of image and spectacle. A place where history, politics, love, and tragedy converge in stone and salt water. Cleopatra was never truly lost. She has simply been waiting to be found. And now, as science gradually reveals what the sea once swallowed, the queen returns, not just through legend, but through statues, temple columns, and the memory of humankind. Beneath the frigid, deep waters of Lake Michigan, one of the largest and oldest lakes in North America, lies something that doesn't quite belong. It doesn't appear on maps. There are no historical sight signs, and no crowds of tourists snapping photos. Hidden deep within the lake bed is a row of large stones arranged in a straight line, resembling a road swallowed by time and water. Most astonishing of all, one of the stones appears to be engraved with the image of a mastodon, a massive prehistoric elephant that once roamed across North America. This discovery wasn't the result of a grand excavation, but rather a strange coincidence. In 2007, while surveying the lake bed with sonar for a separate research project, a team from Northwestern Michigan College stumbled upon a sequence of evenly spaced stones. The straight alignment and uniform gaps immediately drew attention. It was far too regular to be a product of nature. If you happen to discover a submerged road at the bottom of a lake, built from large stones and featuring a carving of a prehistoric elephant, what would you think? Could it be evidence of an ancient civilization, lost beneath ice and time? Or just a natural phenomenon that human imagination has turned into mystery? Share your thoughts, theories, or questions in the comments below. We'd love to know, do you lean towards science, the mysterious, or something entirely different? Around 1,000 to 12,000 years ago, during the waning days of the last ice age, the world looked vastly different. What is now Lake Michigan was not a vast body of water, but instead a dry and exposed landscape shaped by retreating glaciers and shifting climates. The lake bed today, submerged beneath meters of cold water, would have been a corridor of life, with open plains, patches of forest, and shallow wetlands. This setting would have attracted both prehistoric megafauna like mastodons and early human hunter-gatherers. Mastodons, traveling in herds, likely used the area as a migration route in search of water and vegetation. And where large animals moved, humans followed. It's plausible that this region was not only a hunting ground, but also a place of observation, ritual, or symbolic expression perhaps, even the site where one of them carved the image of a mastodon into stone. If true, that carving would serve as a rare and powerful glimpse into the minds of the first North Americans. When researchers surveyed the bottom of Lake Michigan and discovered this unusual formation of stones, what astonished them wasn't just the presence of the rocks, but the way they were arranged. Large stones of nearly equal size lay in a long, straight line, spaced at regular intervals, something that doesn't resemble any known natural formation. It's the kind of structure we typically associate with human construction, like Stonehenge or other megalithic monuments. Some archaeologists have even dubbed it America's underwater Stonehenge. Yet to this day, no tools, human remains, or cultural artifacts have been found nearby, partly because underwater archaeology is extremely challenging, and partly because no comprehensive excavation has ever been conducted. This lack of definitive evidence only deepens the mystery. It remains a structure that no one can confidently attribute to humans. but one that nature alone seems unlikely to explain. This is the part that makes the entire discovery so compelling, not because of what we know, but because of what we still don't. If this wasn't the result of natural forces, then who placed them there? And why? We know that prehistoric humans in North America during this time mostly lived in small, scattered hunter-gatherer groups. They left behind few large structures and little evidence of organized construction. Arranging large stones in a linear path would have required labor, intent, and some form of social coordination, something not previously attributed to cultures in this region and time period. One of the stones appears to bear an engraving of a mastodon, complete with a head, tusks, and a curved back. Sonar images seem to confirm the shape, but debate continues. Some scientists argue that it's just a coincidental crack in the stone. Others insist the image is too defined to be random, and if it's confirmed, it could become one of the oldest examples of prehistoric rock art in North America, predating the famous cave drawings of the American Southwest. Lake Michigan is hardly an unexplored frontier. Scientists, hydrologists, and professional divers have studied it for decades. So why hadn't anyone noticed such a large and peculiar structure? Was it previously buried beneath sediment and only recently uncovered due to shifting lakebed conditions? Or perhaps similar findings have been overlooked simply because they lacked an obvious carving, like the mastodon. If we piece the elements together, the aligned stones, the prehistoric animal carving, the dryland context during the Ice Age, it's entirely possible that this is a remnant of an ancient Native American culture, one with its own symbolic expressions, beliefs, and construction abilities, but one that has been wiped away by rising waters and forgotten by time. This is no longer a far-fetched idea. Modern archaeologists are slowly acknowledging that prehistoric cultures in North America may have been far more advanced than previously believed. And sometimes, it only takes a single, well-timed discovery like this sunken road to rewrite an entire regional history. So far, no major research institution has conducted an official excavation of the site. The main reasons lie in the extremely high cost of underwater archaeology and the limited existing evidence, which makes it difficult to secure funding. However, it's clear that this is no ordinary discovery. The number of unanswered questions surrounding it has already captured the attention of the scientific community. In archaeology, as in science in general, the more difficult a mystery is to solve, the more it deserves to be pursued, because such mysteries often open new doors to our understanding of human history. From theories of a buried ancient civilization to the possibility that this is merely a coincidental natural arrangement. No explanation has been confirmed. Yet it is precisely this ambiguity that makes the submerged structure in Lake Michigan so captivating. Archaeologists, divers, documentary filmmakers, and history enthusiasts alike have been drawn in by this unresolved mystery. It raises the possibility that we still don't fully understand our own past, and that sometimes a single small discovery can shake the foundations of what we thought we knew. Whether it's a mini Atlantis of North America or simply a lesson in the limits of our imagination, this mystery has accomplished what every great scientific discovery should. It sparks questions. If you were to stand at the edge of Lake Michigan on a calm day, gazing out at the still surface, you'd never guess that beneath those waters might lie a piece of forgotten history, a road, a carving, or even a vanished culture. And that's why this discovery continues to linger in the minds of mystery lovers, because sometimes what captivates us most isn't what we know, but what we've yet to understand. Hidden deep in the western Pacific Ocean, off the remote island of Pohnpei in the Federated States of Micronesia, lies one of the most astonishing archaeological enigmas on Earth. It's known as Nan Madol, and its haunting ruins, lost amid a mangrove-covered coastline, have earned it the nickname the Venice of the Pacific. But this nickname only hints at the incredible complexity and unsolved mysteries that surround this ancient megalithic city. Constructed from approximately 75,000 tons of volcanic basalt rock, Nan Madol is unlike any other site in the Pacific. Built entirely on top of a coral reef, it is composed of over 90 man-made islets, each surrounded by tidal canals and connected by a complex web of waterways, giving it its Venetian comparison. But unlike Venice, which was carefully documented over centuries, Nan Madol's origins are shrouded in complete mystery. No written records, no known construction tools, no definitive answers. The sheer scale of Nan Madol defies belief. Many of its buildings are made of columnar basalt logs, some weighing as much as 50 tons, stacked horizontally like oversized timber beams. These rocks are volcanic in origin, not native to the immediate surroundings, and must have been transported from quarries several kilometers away, possibly from the main island or even beyond. There are no known roads or wheels on the island, no cranes, no pulleys, and yet, somehow, these massive stones were floated, dragged, or otherwise maneuvered over treacherous coral reefs and open water, then precisely stacked to create walls over 7 meters tall and 5 meters thick. One temple structure, known as Nandoas, is particularly impressive, with fortress-like walls and an inner tomb believed to be the resting place of ancient rulers or priests. How was this achieved? Traditional oral legends claim the stones were moved by magic or with the help of levitating spells cast by sorcerers. Scientists, naturally, remain skeptical, but no modern engineering explanation has yet been proven or replicated. To this day, no one knows how Nan Madol was built. Another curious fact, Nan Madol was never a place for ordinary people. Archaeologists believe it was a ceremonial and political center for the Saudi dynasty, a centralized ruling elite that governed the island from around the 12th to the 17th century CE. The city was designed for rituals, religious practices, elite gatherings, and likely for the control and intimidation of the general populace. There are no signs of common dwellings or agriculture. The islets contain tombs, altars, sacred pools, and temples, all enclosed in megalithic stone walls. It's as if Nan Madol was built to be a floating fortress of mysticism, isolated from the rest of society by design, but that raises more questions than it answers. Why build something so massive and so inaccessible with no freshwater source and no nearby food production? Why isolate the seat of power on a coral reef, exposed to storms, tides, and logistical nightmares, unless the purpose was never practical but entirely symbolic, spiritual, or otherworldly? This brings us to the most compelling and unsettling part of the story. Nan Madol appears to be a city without a past. No inscriptions have been found. No construction tools have been unearthed. No nearby settlements from the same era exist to suggest a labor force or support system. Even carbon dating offers limited insight, as most of the organic material has degraded or been lost to time and tides. We are left with massive, perfectly aligned basalt structures built on coral beds, using unknown technology, for reasons still unclear, and no clear sign of how such a feat was even possible. The deeper archaeologists dig into Nan Madol, the more unsettling the silence becomes. It's as if Nan Madol was always meant to be isolated from the past. From practicality and from the rest of history, some researchers call it the Atlantis of the Pacific, not because it sank, but because it seems to have emerged fully formed and then vanished from memory. Is it possible that Nan Madol is merely the visible tip of a much older, buried culture, a culture that disappeared long before the Sodelur arrived? Or could it be that we're missing something fundamental about the capabilities of ancient Pacific civilizations, something that would rewrite our understanding of prehistoric engineering? Folk legends from the island of Pohnpei have cast a mystical veil over Nan Madol, turning the ruins into more than just an archaeological site. They have become a sacred symbol of the supernatural world, passed down through generations. Oral traditions speak of two sorcerer brothers who came from a distant land and constructed the massive stone city. These brothers were said to possess mysterious powers, allowing them to make the colossal basalt columns, some weighing tens of tons, levitate through the air and arrange themselves into temples without human labor or tools. Other stories describe giant beings or ancient deities who once ruled the site, demanding rituals and offerings at sacred spots. Many locals believe that Nan Madol was built atop a gateway between the human world and the spirit realm, a place where the boundary between reality and the divine becomes blurred. To this day, people of Pohnpei avoid visiting Nan Madol after dark, fearing that ancient spirits still guard the site. Despite numerous modern efforts, archaeology continues to struggle in its attempt to explain Nan Madol. Advanced tools such as ground-penetrating radar, drone imaging, and limited excavations have been employed to uncover the structure's layout and origins. Some researchers have proposed that the city was constructed gradually over several centuries, using wooden rafts, inclined planes, and immense human labor. However, even these conservative theories begin to fall apart under scrutiny. The city's massive scale, high level of precision, and inconvenient location atop coral reefs challenge all conventional engineering logic. Meanwhile, a number of independent scholars have offered far more radical ideas, linking Nan Madol to lost civilizations like Lemuria or Mu, or even extraterrestrial influence. Though controversial, such theories underscore just how far Nan Madol lies outside the boundaries of accepted historical frameworks. Unlike the Egyptian pyramids or Stonehenge, which reveal clear signs of gradual development, Nan Madol shows no evolutionary building timeline. It seems to have simply appeared, fully formed. Today, Nan Madol stands as a monument to what we still don't know about ourselves. A city built from nearly 1 million tons of stone, on top of a coral reef, without tools or wheels, for a purpose that remains elusive, and with origins that vanish into myth. Whether it was a temple city, a ritual fortress, or the final remnant of a forgotten civilization, Nan Madol refuses to fit neatly into our historical narratives. It challenges our assumptions, unsettles our logic, and whispers of possibilities beyond the edge of the known world. Could Nan Madol be the legacy of a civilization we've entirely lost to time? Was it the seat of a theocratic empire, a portal to the spiritual world, or something even more ancient than we can imagine? Or maybe it's proof that our ancestors knew far more than we've ever given them credit for. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What secrets do you think lie buried beneath the tides of Nan Madol? Beneath the calm, turquoise waters of Lake Van in eastern Turkey lies a structure that challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient civilizations. It's not a shipwreck, not a natural formation, and not a forgotten tale etched in old manuscripts. It's a fortress, a real stone-built fortress, and it has been quietly sleeping underwater for perhaps 3,000 years, completely untouched by modern memory. This submerged citadel, discovered by Turkish archaeologists and divers, has astonished both scientists and the public since the first images were released. It stretches across hundreds of meters, with walls still standing at heights of 3 to 4 meters in some places. Its straight lines and carefully placed stones betray intentional design, not the randomness of geological formations. But what's most shocking isn't just the existence of this fortress, it's the fact that we had absolutely no idea it was there. No records, no legends, no myths, nothing. Lake Van is no ordinary lake. It is the largest lake in Turkey. But what makes it truly remarkable is its unusual chemical composition. The water is highly alkaline, much saltier than seawater, and this has created an environment so harsh that almost no living organisms can survive in it. There are no invasive plant roots, no schools of fish to disturb the sediment, and the deeper layers of the lake are nearly devoid of oxygen. This biological emptiness has ironically become the perfect condition for preserving ancient structures. The walls of the fortress, now submerged at depths between 3 and 10 meters, have retained their shape almost completely intact after millennia. Straight lines of stone, fitted together with ancient techniques, show little erosion or collapse, unlike most ruins found on land. It's as if nature itself has sealed this place inside a time capsule, a still, high-altitude body of water where earthquakes, storms, climate change, and the slow passage of thousands of years have all passed without leaving significant marks. But it is this very perfection in preservation that raises the biggest question: what exactly is this structure? Who built it, and for what purpose does it lie in silence at the bottom of the lake, as if it never existed at all? Initial studies suggest that the underwater fortress in Lake Van may date back to the time of the Eurasian Kingdom, a once powerful civilization that flourished in the eastern highlands of what is now Turkey. Between the 9th and 6th centuries BCE, Urartu was renowned for its complex stone architecture, with many fortresses, temples, and large-scale irrigation systems previously discovered around the Lake Van region. However, what confounds researchers is that this submerged structure is not mentioned in any known Urartian inscriptions or in any existing archaeological records. There is no name, no documented function, no historical battle known to have taken place here. The structure appears on no ancient maps, and it is absent from local legends or oral traditions. It is as if it has been completely erased from human memory. This raises a major question for archaeologists. If the Urartians did build this fortress, why did they leave no cultural trace or historical record of it? Or could it be that we are facing a chapter of history even older and more mysterious than anything we've ever known? What makes the underwater fortress in Lake Van one of the greatest archaeological mysteries of the modern era is not its size, construction technique, or age, but rather the haunting question: why is it underwater? This isn't just a side detail, but the key that unlocks a flood of theories, from geology to spirituality, from climate change to forgotten catastrophes. Some scientists believe that the water level of Lake Van was much lower in ancient times, over thousands of years, due to tectonic activity, landslides, or prolonged climate shifts. The water may have gradually risen, slowly submerging the entire structure. This theory sounds reasonable from a geological standpoint, but it lacks direct evidence. No ancient maps show changing shorelines, and no accompanying ruins have been found to support the claim. Other scholars have proposed bolder scenarios, such as a forgotten disaster, a massive earthquake that tore the land apart, causing it to sink and bury the fortress, or a sudden flood that drowned the entire settlement in a matter of days. Some even suggest a series of smaller events that gradually led to the collapse of a local population, leaving their fortress behind to fade from memory. Yet, perhaps the most haunting theory is this was the fortress intentionally hidden. Could it have been a sacred site, deliberately placed beneath the water as part of an ancient ritual? Or even more unsettling, might it be the remnant of a previously unknown civilization, one that vanished before written language could preserve its story? To this day, there are no clear answers, only countless open questions. And that is what makes the Lake Van Fortress so profoundly mysterious, a real structure that seems to exist outside the boundaries of the history we thought we knew. Although archaeologists have employed a range of modern technologies, such as sonar scanning, underwater drones, and specialized diving equipment, what we know about the fortress beneath Lake Van remains just the surface of a vast and complex hidden world. No inscriptions have been found on its walls, and no clear artifacts have been discovered nearby. The structure lies too deep, the water too murky, and the surrounding geology too unstable, making a full-scale excavation nearly impossible. We are facing a riddle carved in stone, yet drowned in the absolute silence of time. There are no traces of language, no archaeological clues, only silent walls that seem to want to speak, but no one can hear them. To this day, the Lake Van Fortress remains one of the most inexplicable archaeological mysteries. It doesn't just challenge our understanding of the Eurasian Empire, it forces us to ask, do we truly understand the past? Or are we merely assembling disconnected fragments of a long-lost picture? Imagine standing on the shores of Lake Van, quietly watching gentle waves lap against the rocky edge in a tranquil, still atmosphere. In the distance, volcanic mountains rise beneath a pale blue sky, and the call of birds echoes through the wind, reminding you of a land that feels ancient and untouched. Yet, right beneath your feet, beneath the seemingly peaceful, clear water, lies an entire world forgotten by time, a fortress built by hands long turned to dust. No one knows its name, who once lived there, or what happened that caused it to sink into silence. It has no story, no written record, but its existence is undeniable. And perhaps that is the greatest power of this mystery, not just the things we do not yet know, but the things we never even thought we should be searching for. What do you think? Could the Lake Van Fortress be proof of a lost city swallowed by rising waters? Or is it the remnant of a civilization even older than Urartu? Might it hold answers to other unexplained sites found underwater across the globe? Drop your theories in the comments. History doesn't always leave us answers, but sometimes it leaves just enough to ignite the imagination. Imagine yourself swimming beneath the crystal-clear waters of the Mediterranean sunlight, shimmering through the waves, illuminating stone-paved streets, vivid red walls, and an entire ancient Roman villa lying right beneath your feet. Not a pile of rubble, not a few scattered bricks, but a fully preserved Roman world houses, baths, colonnaded corridors, and most striking of all, mosaics so intact and intricate. They're almost haunting. These aren't in a museum. They haven't been restored. They've been lying undisturbed on the seafloor for nearly 2,000 years and remain astonishingly unharmed. Every tile, every pattern, every detail still shines, as if time itself paused in this underwater world. No one could have imagined it a second Pompeii, hidden in the depths, but more vivid, more mysterious, and perfectly sealed by nature itself. In the golden age of the Roman Empire, there was a coastal city so lavish, so drenched in wealth and indulgence, that it earned the nickname Las Vegas of ancient Rome. That city was Baiae, a resort town nestled along the Bay of Naples, where emperors, senators, and military elites came not to rule, but to retreat. Marble villas stretched along the shoreline. Steam rose from elaborate bathhouses, and colonnaded walkways echoed with the footsteps of men like Julius Caesar, Nero, and Tiberius. It was a playground for the elite, a place of scandal, luxury, and excess. But in the 3rd century AD, nature quietly reclaimed it. A slow but relentless geological phenomenon known as bradycism, caused by underground volcanic activity, made the land gradually sink, year after year, inch by inch. Baiae was swallowed by the sea. No eruptions, no explosions, just silence as temples, mosaics, and villas slid beneath the waves. The city disappeared not in fire, but in water. That should have erased it forever. Yet strangely, it preserved it instead. When the first underwater archaeologists approached the seafloor near Pozzuoli and Baiae, they were wholly unprepared for what would emerge before their eyes. Beneath shafts of sunlight filtering through the clear blue water, strange shapes began to appear, black and white mosaic floors, perfectly intact, rising from the seabed as if they had never been buried at all. No cracks, no crumbling, no murky erosion from sand. They had survived nearly 2,000 years with a level of detail that left modern observers breathless. Unlike other Roman ruins destroyed by earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, these villas had not collapsed. They had simply sunk slowly, peacefully, and in utter silence. That quiet descent, combined with layers of fine sediment, clean sea sand, and stable underwater conditions, created an environment nearly ideal for preservation. Down there, it felt as though time had stopped. What shocked experts the most was the unbelievable intricacy of the mosaics. Classical geometric patterns interlocking squares, elegant wave borders. Mythological emblems remained sharp, as if completed just a few years ago. Some rooms were adorned with vivid mythological scenes, the majestic Minerva, Poseidon riding seahorses, Greek and Roman gods in chariots, all recreated from tiny stone tiles only a few millimeters wide, cut and placed with astonishing precision. The craftsmanship behind these mosaics continues to impress even today's artists. Each tile, called a tessera, was hand-cut and laid exactly where it belonged, creating shadows, depth, color gradients, and dimensional effects as if the ancient artisan had the eye of a modern digital designer. Most remarkably, everything remains in its original place, not in a museum, not a replica, but a real Roman artwork, resting quietly under a diver's feet, untouched, unmoved. And it wasn't just the floors. Fresco-painted walls created by applying pigment onto fresh, wet plaster so the colors fused directly into the surface were also discovered beneath soft layers of underwater silt. As divers gently brushed away the sediment, they revealed brilliant Pompeian reds, golden yellows, and sky blues still vibrant after nearly 2 millennia. Many walls even featured decorative borders, urban and rural scenes, and finely detailed human portraits still visible, brushstroke by brushstroke. In some places, the walls and floors remain fully connected, forming an intact room missing only its roof and the air above. It feels as if, with one sweep of the water, you could step directly into the ancient Roman world. This is not merely preservation, it is a portal through time. The remarkable preservation of these Roman villas beneath the sea is not solely due to ancient construction techniques, but also to the unique conditions of the underwater environment. The constant humidity prevented the cracking of plaster and stone, while low oxygen levels and dim lighting helped slow the decay of organic materials, such as painted walls or decorative elements. Most importantly, a fine layer of sediment settled gently over the structures for centuries, forming a kind of natural time capsule that kept everything almost perfectly intact. As a result, what should have vanished long ago has instead become a vivid testament to a forgotten ancient world. Many refer to Baiae as the underwater Pompeii, but according to numerous archaeologists, it may be even more vivid than the real Pompeii. While Pompeii was suddenly buried under volcanic ash, resulting in a dry and fragmented kind of preservation, Baiae sank slowly and peacefully, without destroying the structures, and instead leaving almost everything intact in its original place. As a result, the seafloor today still holds columned corridors, marble statues, Roman-style bathhouses, and mosaics stretching for hundreds of meters, all still lying exactly where they were nearly 2,000 years ago. Visitors today can dive down and swim over those very ancient floors, once walked upon by Roman citizens, complete with fireplaces, kitchens, and living spaces, as if an entire city is silently waiting to be awakened from a centuries-long slumber. What makes the underwater Roman mosaics so extraordinary is not just their aesthetic beauty, but the fact that they serve as deeply personal expressions of each villa's owner. These were not merely decorations, they were silent declarations of identity, ambition, and social status. Choosing an image of the god Apollo might symbolize intellect and refinement. Scenes of fish, octopuses, and sailboats reflected a deep connection to the sea, both as a livelihood and as a source of inspiration. The Romans didn't carve their names into the walls. Instead, they left behind vivid imagery underfoot, so every guest would walk upon a lasting symbol of their prestige. And even though the city has vanished from maps, these mosaics are still telling stories in a visual language that defies time. Baiae is just one example, but looking beyond, there could be dozens or even hundreds of similar ruins submerged by earthquakes, sea level rise, or slow land subsidence, and with each mosaic uncovered, we resurrect a family, a generation, a forgotten chapter of history. What fascinates us isn't just the artistry, but the feeling that the ancient world is still there, waiting just beneath the waves. If you had the chance to dive down and step onto these very mosaic floors once walked by the Roman elite, how would you feel? And how many more forgotten cities do you think are still hidden beneath the sea, waiting to be discovered? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. When discussing the greatest mysteries humanity has ever faced, people often think of Plato's Atlantis or the Moai statues of Easter Island. Yet, in the distant east, specifically in India, there exists another equally majestic legend, the city of Dwarka, believed to have been the realm of Lord Krishna, an incarnation of Vishnu in Hindu tradition. But what makes Dwarka truly special is not just its mythological significance, but the enigmatic ruins discovered beneath the sea, along with the unanswered questions that have lingered for over 2 decades. According to the epic Mahabharata and ancient texts such as the Harivamsa and Bhagavata Purana, the city of Dwarka was once a magnificent metropolis, said to have been built by Lord Krishna himself after departing from Mathura. It was here that he ruled and protected his people from hostile forces. The city was described with incredible grandeur. 900 Suruzero palaces made of gold, silver, and crystal, lining avenues paved with precious stones. Its road systems, canals, and defensive fortifications were highly advanced, indicating a dazzling civilization far ahead of its time. However, legend holds that after Krishna's death, a great cataclysm occurred. The ocean rose and swallowed the entire city, bringing an end to this divine era. For centuries, the story of Dwarka was regarded merely as a religious symbol, a myth with no historical or archaeological evidence. Scholars treated it as an essential part of Hindu belief, but few dared to suggest that the city might have actually existed. Yet in the early 21st century, a series of underwater archaeological discoveries forced the scientific community to reconsider: could Dwarka truly be just a legend, or was it in fact a faint memory of a once thriving civilization, now lost forever beneath the sea? In 2001, a groundbreaking archaeological event took place off the coast of Gujarat, India, in an area known as the Gulf of Cambay. Scientists from the Archaeological Survey of India (ASI), in collaboration with the Defense Research and Development Organization (DRDO), conducted sonar scans of the seabed for standard research purposes. However, the results far exceeded expectations. A clearly geometric structural system emerged beneath the sea, featuring straight roads, foundations, walls, and large-scale constructions located about 30 meters deep and over 20 kilometers from shore. Unlike natural sediment formations or irregular rock clusters, these structures displayed distinct signs of human engineering: precisely aligned roads, perfect right angles, intentionally arranged brick floors, and massive stone walls. Altogether, these features suggested the existence of a settlement possibly covering up to 5 square kilometers, with some structures stretching hundreds of meters, an astonishing notion when considering their potential age. And that wasn't all. Divers and underwater retrieval robots later uncovered pottery shards, stone tools, and even human bones in the same area. When these samples were sent for radiocarbon C14 dating, a controversial result emerged. Some pottery fragments were dated between 7,000 and 9,500 years old, predating the Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilizations, long considered the cradles of human society. If these results are ever officially and thoroughly confirmed, the discovery in the Gulf of Cambay would not merely be an archaeological site, it could radically alter our current understanding of the origins of civilization itself. It is precisely at the intersection between myth and reality that the story of Dwarka enters the shadow zone of modern science, a place where the questions are so immense that even archaeologists remain silent or cautious. Although the structures discovered beneath the Gulf of Cambay seem to match astonishingly well with descriptions in ancient Hindu texts, to this day, a series of major mysteries remain unresolved by current scientific methods. The biggest question remains: is this truly the legendary city of Dwarka? Texts like the Mahabharata describe the city's architecture in great detail, yet provide no precise coordinates. Meanwhile, the discovered site lies quite far from present-day Dwarka, which is now a major Hindu pilgrimage destination. Still, features such as extreme wealth, massive urban scale, and sudden disappearance into the sea align uncannily with ancient accounts. Then comes the issue of the 900-year age estimate, a figure that shook the archaeological community when first announced. Although determined through radiocarbon dating on retrieved pottery shards, bones, and organic material from the seafloor, many scientists remain cautious. This dating method can be influenced by underwater geological factors such as ocean currents, sediment deposits, or contamination from modern materials. Some experts believe that while the artifacts might indeed be ancient, the city-like structures may belong to a later era, possibly to the Harappan civilization, or represent an entirely different culture. Another unsolved puzzle is, how could such a city have sunk beneath the sea? There is no clear evidence of earthquakes, tsunamis, or geological events of sufficient magnitude to submerge an entire urban center in a short period. Moreover, the structures remain remarkably well preserved and show little of the erosion typically seen in marine environments over millennia. This has led to theories of an extreme geological event, previously unknown or unrecorded in natural history. Equally important is the question, why hasn't the international scientific community fully recognized this discovery? Despite initial publications and intense domestic interest in India, most major archaeological organizations remain distant. Part of the reason is the lack of systematic and in-depth excavation, but also the religious and political sensitivity of the region. Furthermore, underwater archaeology is a highly expensive and technically demanding field, requiring advanced technology that India was still developing at the time. Finally, there is the clash between faith and science. For millions of Hindus, the underwater city is undeniable proof of the reality of the Krishna legend. But for modern science, no matter how powerful belief may be, faith cannot replace empirical evidence. This tension has placed the story of Dwarka into a unique gray zone, not entirely myth, but not yet a scientifically verified truth. Today, modern Dwarka, located in Gujarat, is one of Hinduism's 4 holiest cities. It welcomes millions of devotees each year, especially those who come to worship at the Dwarkadish temple, built in honor of Lord Krishna. Even though the underwater ruins have not been definitively confirmed as the remains of the legendary city, faith in the myth has resurged powerfully. For many Indians, this is not just about archaeology, it's about a spiritual and national heritage. Could the city of Dwarka truly have existed? Could the story of Krishna be a faded memory of a lost civilization, buried under the ocean thousands of years ago? Until science can fully explore the Indian seabed and reconstruct the past using modern technology, Dwarka will remain an unsolved mystery, a compelling reminder that the line between myth and reality is sometimes so thin, it forces us to question everything we thought we knew. And perhaps it is in that very uncertainty that Dwarka endures as an eternal symbol of an ancient enigma that modern science has yet to decode. What do you think about the city of Dwarka? Is this archaeological evidence of a lost civilization, or merely a natural coincidence mixed with religious belief? Share your thoughts and theories about Dwarka in the comments below. I'd love to know, do you believe in myth, science, or a bit of both? For more than a millennium, the name Heraklion survived only in ancient texts and vague legends, a city swallowed by time, lingering somewhere at the fringes of memory from the ancient Egyptian and Greek civilizations. Many believed it to be a mere product of myth and imagination, a legendary place connected with Heracles Hercules, Helen of Troy, grand temples, and trading ships laden with gold and riches. But in the year 2000, when French underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio and his team announced their astonishing discovery off the coast of Alexandria, the world stood still. Heracleion was real, and it lay quietly beneath the sea. Heracleion, or Thonis, as the ancient Egyptians called it, once stood as a shining jewel of Egypt's northern coastline, a city both powerful and prosperous. It flourished in the 6th century BCE, occupying a prime location where the Nile emptied into the Mediterranean Sea. Long before Alexandria rose to prominence, Heracleion served as Egypt's primary port, the first point of contact for Greek and Mediterranean traders. It was more than just a commercial center. It was a crossroads of civilizations, where cultures met, gods were worshipped, and rulers legitimized their power. Yet, sometime in the 2nd or 3rd century CE, Heracleion vanished. And what's truly unsettling is how it disappeared without a trace in historical memory. No ancient document records a sudden flood. No inscriptions mourn a city lost. No writer described the chaos of evacuation or the tragedy of collapse. It simply ceased to be, as if swallowed whole by the sea and forgotten by time. Greek historians like Herodotus once wrote of its significance, yet even they left no account of its fall. That eerie silence from a city so prominent is not just mysterious, it challenges our understanding of how civilizations vanish. When archaeologists began excavating the floor of Abu Qir Bay off the coast of Alexandria, they didn't just uncover a lost city, they discovered a frozen time capsule, a world buried for over 1,200 years, yet preserved in astonishing detail. Beneath more than 10 meters of seabed mud lay silent, yet vivid, ruins, tangible fragments of a once glorious civilization. What they found revealed that Heracleion was once a thriving center of ritual and commerce. Most striking were the massive stone statues, some as tall as 5 meters, depicting Egyptian deities such as Hapi and Isis. Despite lying underwater for millennia, the carvings remain sharp and detailed, radiating an ancient, majestic dignity. Alongside them were inscribed stelae in ancient Egyptian, describing the religious ceremonies once performed here, powerful evidence of the city's spiritual significance. One of the most remarkable discoveries was the Temple of Amun-Gerab, where pharaohs underwent coronation rituals to be officially recognized by both gods and people as rulers of the Nile Delta. This wasn't just a sacred architectural site, it was also a political epicenter, with ceremonies that legitimized royal authority. But that was only the beginning. Archaeologists also uncovered over 64 ancient ships buried around the harbor, many with wooden hulls still intact. Inside and around them were thousands of artifacts, including coins, jewelry, ceramics, tools, and weapons. These objects not only demonstrate Heracleion's vibrant trade activity, but also reveal a deep connection between ancient Egypt and the wider Mediterranean world. An entire world, once lively, diverse, and culturally rich, had lain dormant beneath the waves for centuries. It is not merely a sunken city, but rather a raw portrait of a civilization that time tried to erase, yet could never truly hide. Although archaeologists have partially reconstructed the former glory of ancient Heracleion, what truly makes this city one of the greatest mysteries in modern archaeology lies in the absolute silence surrounding its demise. As a crucial center of trade, politics, and religion in ancient Egypt, Heracleion once served as the international gateway for commerce and the sacred site of royal coronation rituals. And yet, the city vanished without leaving a single historical record. No legends, no catastrophes, no warnings. While Pompeii was buried by volcanic ash, Atlantis lives on in myth, and Babylon fell to war. Heracleion seems to have simply sunk and been forgotten, as if the world chose to turn away. What truly happened, and why did no one speak of it? That haunting question makes Heracleion more than a lost city. It is an unanswered riddle carved into the heart of human history. Many geologists and archaeologists have proposed reasonable theories for why Heracleion sank beneath the sea. One widely accepted explanation is soil liquefaction when the soft, water-saturated ground of the Nile Delta loses its structural integrity due to earthquakes or major floods, causing large buildings to suddenly collapse into the earth. Other experts suggest a combination of earthquakes, tsunamis, and coastal erosion in the Mediterranean region may have gradually caused Heracleion's downfall, allowing seawater to rush in and consume the city. We also cannot ignore the long-term effect of rising sea levels, which may have slowly drowned the city over centuries. However, what makes Heracleion truly unique is not how it collapsed, but the absolute silence surrounding the event. Why is there no ancient record describing the disaster? How could a city with thousands of inhabitants, merchants, priests, nobles, commoners vanish without leaving even a single message in the annals of history? Did the people evacuate before the city fell? Did they perish with it? Or more disturbingly, was there something that kept them from speaking at all? That void, no stories, no legends, no historical accounts, is the greatest enigma. Heracleion is not just a city buried beneath the sea, it is a fracture in humanity's historical memory, a place where time itself has refused to reveal the truth. It is this lack of answers that gives Heracleion its unique power. The discoveries beneath the waves not only help us reconstruct a lost city, but also pose a profound challenge to science and history. How can such a radiant civilization vanish beneath the sea and leave behind no echoes in human memory? And could there be other cities, still buried in silt, that no one has even whispered about? Today, Heracleion stands as an icon of modern underwater archaeology. Its excavation has sparked new approaches in studying not only ancient Egypt, but the deeper interplay between humans, earth, and ocean. But more importantly, Heracleion offers us a timeless lesson. Not all legacies speak through recorded history. Some civilizations, some stories, some voices are buried silently, and only those who listen beneath the depths of time will hear them. And what about you? What do you think really happened to Heracleion? Was it a sudden natural disaster, a forgotten conspiracy, or simply the drift of history, erasing what no one thought to preserve? Share your thoughts. Perhaps you'll be the one to help write the next chapter in the story of this long-lost city.